Hello everyone, welcome back. So now we're over the Christmas hump, we'll return to the normal Sunday night updates. You'll see in this update I answer some questions that we've been getting about BA1 and the cars being displayed and costs and bits and pieces. So we'll cover that off. As you can see, where FTR3 was is no longer there, it's gone. We'll cover off what's happening with that car as well. We'll cover off some old race footage that I stumbled across which featured the livery AU and FTR3, which shows FTR3 in a different specification than what we thought it originally was. We'll have a look at what's behind this curtain, and I'll also get your feedback in regard to, I guess, the next steps we need to take on FTR3, and there's a fair bit of history there which I'll explain, and we either need to delete it or preserve it, and I'm interested to get your feedback on that. We'll rip into it now. Here's the very latest on all the three cars. In response to our last video, I've had a few messages come in from people wanting to know if we make any money on these cars and is there any revenue stream generated by having them. The answer to that is no. Unfortunately, a lot of it's done purely funded by ourselves. So as an example, there's photos of this car at a V8 supercar event at Phillip Island in 2016, I believe it was. That was taken down to supercars, they used it. We don't get paid anything for that. We get tickets to the event, but that's about it. Same thing with the museums. We transport the cars there to and from, and they're just, I guess, donated and stored there for everyone to love and admire and keep the memories alive. The only exception to this rule, quite a few years ago, the Adelaide government put together a display for the Clipsal 500, and they wanted to have, through Aaron Noonan, this car and the Mark Scaife Commodore together again, and they put up a bit of money to get this car transported across to Adelaide. Now, it was the amount they put up basically covered a majority of the transport cost, but that was about it. And we still had to transport it a couple of 100 Ks return to get it to a major city so it could be carted across. So really, everything we do with them as far as displaying them is just done through the love of the sport and keeping the memories alive, which you don't mind doing because it really was a great era of V8 supercars. Just further to that piece on the Clipsal 500 celebration, that's where those A boards came from when this car ended up over in South Australia. So, moving on. Now, as you can see, or you may have noticed, where FTR3 was sitting, it's no longer there. So, don't stress, it hasn't gone anywhere. If we work our way over under the mezzanine here, I'll give you a look in behind the curtains. Now, this has been a little bit of a project happening on the side over the last few weeks. As I said in the last video, we've got a lot of people that want to follow the fabrication side of this car's restoration. So behind the curtains, we now have a designated dirty work area, and FTR3's fabrication will all take place in under here. As I said in the last video, not necessarily the cage work at this stage, but everything else will happen in under here. So we'll be able to do all the dirty work in-house and keep it contained in this work area. Now, what we've got to do to FTR3 is a lot of just fiddly and not overly exciting work, but all the impact damage all around the door sills where the rear quarters attach, all that has to be cut out or re-welded and ground back and give us something to attach the new quarter panels to. One thing we did discover, we're about to start, like I did on the livery car, mounting up the bonnet pins which sit on where the standard bump stops are for the Falcon boot, and you have that bonnet pin that sits in through there. Weld a nut to that, you screw it down, and that's your jam nut on the end. I was watching YouTube over Christmas and the video popped up randomly, and it was the 2001 GMC 400 in Canberra. And you'll see here, Steve Ellery and Glenn Seaton started side by side in FTR3 and obviously the livery AU. And he came out in front of Mark Scaife, he was carrying an in-car camera, and it gave us a really good look at the back of FTR3. And the bonnet pins aren't where they are on a lot of the cars. They're actually mounted at the rear. And you can see in this footage here, they're right at the base of the boot. So we've got to work out how we're going to do it, but if you have a look at the AU back end, they're going to have to sit in here somewhere and on a bit of an angle. If you follow the angle or the curve of the boot, they're going to be sitting out like that. So I've got to research how this is going to happen, but we're going to have to weld a nut in there and square it all off so it's exactly how it was back when it ran in the early 2000s. So working our way front to back, you can see on the other side of the car, similar story where it's been welded up and this looks horrible. So we'll clean all that up, but you can see the whole section was actually cut out of FTR3 at one stage, and you can see how many hits the car's had over its journey. It's no surprise. We need to make false floors for the inside of the quarter panels, which we'll go and have a look at them shortly. And really working our way to the front of the car, the sills are all immaculate, which is really, really rare on these cars, so we don't have to put a whole side in it, but there is a lot of fiddling around. So the car's been modified here to suit the BA bonnet hinges. They'll need to be ground out and revert back to the standard AU ones. I've covered in previous videos, we need to make the front radiator support panel bolt on and bolt off. The front rails are fairly beaten up in the car. If I have a look over this way, you can see there's a lot of fatigue in that metal where it's been straightened so many times, but I think we'll leave that. It adds character. They are original to the car, so we'll just work with what we've got there. A lot of running repairs. There's an example here, needs a nut welded in there for the front guard. Bonnet hinges exactly the same the other side. So there's a lot of dirty work we've got to do, but we'll hook into it, and we're really looking forward to seeing FTR3 slowly come back to life. So this is where I need your input. As you can see, the doors on FTR3 are in really good condition. Most of the panels were. Now, we're going to reuse them, but you'll see here, I've put the rear door, one of the rear doors back on FTR3, and it's got the Falcon head on it. Now, this car is one of the only AUs that ran the Falcon head. I believe it was only FTR3 and FTR4 at the start of 2003 that carried the iconic Falcon head on the rear doors. Now, that's not so much of the issue. Where the question comes into it is the doors that are on this car were original to the car when it last raced. So given it's a ride car, it pretty well got retired and repainted, and that was the end of that. But the Falcon head at the back was masked off and preserved. Now, do we keep it? Do I get another set of standard Falcon doors? The rear doors aren't overly complicated. All you do is you cut the insides of them out. There's perspex that goes in the rear and glass at the bottom section, the same as we did with the livery car. So there's not a lot of work that goes into them. The fronts are a lot more complicated because we'd have to reintroduce the electric windows. But I guess the question is, do we take these doors off the car? Do we keep them, given that it's one of the last remaining sets of doors that had the Falcon head on an AU? Or do we sand that back? Because if we go the 2000, 2001 or 2002 livery, it's not going to have that on it. So got a bit of thinking to do on that one. I personally would like to retain them, and although the doors are original to the car, I think it'd be a really cool piece to have preserved, especially given what's happened to the automotive industry since this car raced. So the last piece of this update is the rear quarter panels. Now, as you can see, we've got a brand new set that came from it's actually a Konica series team, I believe. Now, brand new, never been put on a car, but they do have a lot of surface rust on them. The inside of the quarter panels is really good, outside not so much. And you'll see here, a lot of it's just surface rust, but we're going to treat it. We've got a solution to put them in. We'll see what they come up like. I still believe this is a better option than trying to, pick a set off a donor shell. And being genuine Ford panels as well, they'll be ideal. So that's going to be this afternoon's mission, which I'm not looking forward to at all. But we'll see what they come up like, and then hopefully in the next update they'll present like new, and they'll be all primed up and ready to be sat back on FTR3. I'm going to leave you now with a little bit of footage from the 2001 Canberra race I referenced a little bit earlier. You'll see Steve Ellery and Glenn Seaton start side by side on the second row, which is pretty cool given that the two cars now live together. And you'll see here it's an exciting first lap, and Glenn Seaton ended up staying out and getting a jump on the field and coming out in P2. It was one of the better races for both the cars, so I'll leave that with you now, and I'll have more for you soon. Thanks again for your support.
Set for a start on the rev limiters. On time. Way they go, and it's a great jump from Stephen Johnson. Glenn Seaton gets away well. Slots in behind Ambrose, and then this thunderous pack, 31 in total through turn one. They'll be extra careful. They're down to a crawling pace through the first corner.
Brakes back to first gear, just waiting for the traffic to sort themselves out as they punch up through the GMC flip-flop for the first time.
Oh, poor old Bright, he's stuck right at the back there. That's going to do no good at all.
Yeah, Todd Kelly made a pretty bad start too. He bogged right down. He got swamped by a number of competitors. Todd Kelly trying to fight his way back from that bad start. But it's Fords 1, 2, 3 at the front. So they punch out of this chicane, head down this Flynn Place, building up to 180, 190 Ks on the approach to turn 13. Stephen Johnson's got the big V8 pack bearing down on him on this first hectic lap. Magnificent sight as they break at the end of Flynn Place.
And then in comes the leaders. They're both going in. In fact, all three.
As soon as that, everyone's coming in. Looks like Russell Ingall has gone on though.
Remember, this is the first time in race conditions that we have seen people using their electronic speed limiters. It's 40 kilometres an hour. This could pay dividends for Glenn Seaton because he's now got a clean track. And if he can do a Schumacher here and punch out some very, very good speed for a lap or two and then get a clear pit lane, he can be in shape. Scape comes out, he's in front of Ambrose.
Wow.
But remember that Seaton is leading this race and he'll have no threat from anybody behind, and he's got an empty track.
Pit stop out of the way. Here comes Glenn Seaton. Was our race leader. He's peeled off into pit lane now.
And that means that Lowndes is leading. Lowndes has stayed out. And so the strategy there from Gibson Motorsport is the one that Glenn is adopting, which is to try and get clear air.
Looks like a pretty slick job so far from the Ford Sigford Racing team for Glenn Seaton. Jason Bright in as well, so too Paul Radisich and David Bernard.
Just reminding Glenn of the pit lane speed limit, Ivan in the background there on the radio. If they have a pace car situation now, he will get buried. But if it works to his advantage, he's got the clear track that Glenn had briefly. I'd say Glenn will come out as a net winner in this. He is. And he comes out in second place. Now, that's the advantage of having the clear track and a clearer pit lane. He comes on in front of Scaife, who's got warm tyres. He's got cold tyres. This is real pressure for these three drivers. Seaton, then Scaife, then Ambrose. And Scaife and Ambrose will be impatient because Glenn will be trying to get this thing up to pace. A very pressured time.
Dick Johnson's team did a brilliant job for Junior there. They turned him around very quickly, got him back out in front of the field. But look at this sandwich now with Scaife trying to get past Seaton. He knows he's got cold tyres. This is the only chance he's going to have to pounce, but Seaton is equal to the task.
And Glenn cannot afford to let Mark go by, because if he does, there'll be an onslaught of people who will go by in a train, and it'll be like being punch drunk out the other side of it. You'll lose 4 or 5 spots.
Craig Lowndes still the race leader. He's adopting the strategy. We saw Seaton adopt the lap before. He's got clear track. He's trying to make up a lot of position. It's going to be interesting when Lowndes comes into pit this time. We saw the Gibson Motorsport team getting ready for his stop. So this is going to be a critical one for Lowndes.
I think Glenn's safe now. Half a lap in and his tyres are up to temp. He's glancing in the mirror there.